During an all-hands meeting, my boss publicly joked, "If she can make it here, literally anyone can, that's why we're expanding, folks." Everyone laughed as he added, "Set your standards low and you'll never be disappointed." I stayed silent, attached every sloppy email and missed deadline he had caused over the past year into a massive report, and when the board read it, his promotion was revoked overnight. I'm not usually someone who makes waves. I go to work, I do my job, I try not to make enemies. But sometimes, people push you too far. And when that happens, it changes something in you. I've worked at this company in St. Paul for a while, 7 years now. It's a logistics company, not huge, but not small either. We handle shipments and inventory for a bunch of regional retail stores across Minnesota and Wisconsin. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills, and I was proud of the work I did. Things started to shift when Nathan Colburn joined. He came in from another company about 2 years ago, and right away you could tell he thought he was smarter than everyone. He was always talking over people, acting like he was doing us a favor just by being there. He was one of those guys who wore designer sneakers to the office and made sure you knew how expensive they were. Nathan got promoted fast. Too fast. The kind of fast that only happens when you talk more than you listen. I worked directly under him after his first 6 months, and it didn't take long before I realized he had no clue how to actually manage operations. He was all flash. No substance. He started pushing changes without understanding the process. He'd call last-minute meetings, make demands without checking timelines, and constantly ignored warnings from the staff. I would send emails with flags, notes, and spreadsheets showing why something wouldn't work, and he'd reply with something like, "Just figure it out." No excuses. When things went wrong, and they often did, he'd blame anyone but himself. I took a lot of hits that weren't mine to take. He'd go into meetings and tell higher-ups that his team wasn't keeping up, or that training gaps were to blame. Meanwhile, we were staying late cleaning up messes he caused. I kept track. I didn't know why at first. Maybe just for my own sanity. But I started saving every email where he changed an approved plan last minute. Every instance where he skipped protocol and it led to a problem. Every time he put the wrong date in a report or forgot to file something with a vendor and made me do damage control. I had a folder on my work computer. Nothing sneaky. Just labeled Q3 incidents. Then Q4 adjustments. Then operational errors. By the time a full year had passed, I had almost 400 documents in there. Notes. Screenshots. Transcripts of meetings. All factual. All tied to Nathan. Still, I said nothing. Until the day of the all-hands meeting. We have them every quarter. Everyone in the company joins, employees, managers, VPs, even board members sometimes. It's streamed across all our branch offices and recorded. This one was supposed to be upbeat. Word was, Nathan was about to be promoted again. Senior director or something. He was already strutting around like he owned the place. We were in the big conference room. I sat a few rows back. My team was around me. I didn't want to be there, but you can't really skip those meetings. Janet, our CEO, started with the usual updates. Sales, growth plans, thanking everyone for a strong quarter. Then she passed the mic to Nathan. He stepped up and gave this cocky, fake humble speech about overcoming challenges and driving innovation. It was all fluff. I barely listened. Then out of nowhere, he says, and I remember this word for word, "Honestly, we've had our share of dead weight. But the good news is, if she can make it here, literally anyone can. That's why we're expanding, folks." He said it while looking right at me. Smiling. The room laughed. Not everyone. But enough. I froze. Then he added, "Set your standards low and you'll never be disappointed," and kept grinning. No one stopped him. Janet didn't say anything. HR didn't say anything. My team looked uncomfortable, but no one spoke up. I felt humiliated. I wanted to disappear. I left the meeting early and sat in my car in the parking lot for almost an hour. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything he'd done, everything I had let slide because I didn't want drama. All the late nights fixing his screw-ups. All the meetings where I bit my tongue. All the times I covered for him because I thought it would protect my job. I was done protecting him. I opened my laptop. I spent the whole night organizing everything I had. Every misstep, every mistake. I built a timeline. Linked evidence. I used screenshots, attached email chains, showed consequences of every action. I didn't exaggerate anything. Just the facts. He had left a mess everywhere, and I was going to make sure someone saw it for what it really was. I called the file Nathan Colburn, Operational Liability. Over 200 pages of documented failures, missed deadlines, broken procedures, customer complaints tied back to him, and emails where I had clearly warned him of upcoming issues that he ignored. I didn't send it right away. I sat on it for a few days. I reread it. Made sure everything was accurate. Then, the week the board was set to vote on his promotion, I sent it directly to the executive coordinator, the woman who schedules and preps the board meetings. She's not in HR, not part of operations, just an admin who has access to everyone and everything. My message was short. I didn't mention the meeting insult. I didn't call it revenge. I just wrote, attached as a report of operational issues under Nathan Colburn's leadership. All data is verified and timestamped. I believe this is relevant to any discussion regarding his future with the company. Thank you. I sent it on a Tuesday morning. The vote was Thursday. That Thursday, I came into work like usual. No one said anything at first. But by lunch, Slack was buzzing. Nathan's promotion was off. No announcement. No party. No handshake photo. Just a memo: the board has decided to pause advancement plans for Nathan Colburn pending internal review. He will step back from operational duties during this time. Then he was gone. No goodbye email. No LinkedIn post. Just gone. At first, I thought that was it. That Nathan would disappear quietly, maybe move to another company, and I could finally go back to doing my job in peace. But that's not what happened. 2 weeks after Nathan's promotion was pulled, HR called me in for a routine check-in. I walked into the conference room expecting a quick chat. Instead, I found not one, but 3 people waiting: HR rep, our head of compliance, and someone from legal I didn't recognize. They had printed copies of the report I sent. "We've reviewed your file," the legal guy said, "and we have a few questions." They weren't hostile. But they weren't friendly either. They kept asking where I got certain emails, if I had accessed anything outside of my job scope, how I compiled the information, and if anyone else helped me. It hit me right then: they weren't investigating Nathan. They were investigating me. I stayed calm. I told them the truth. Everything I had collected was from my own inbox, company drives, and shared meeting notes. Nothing secret. Nothing off-limits. Just sloppy work that everyone had ignored until I put it in front of the right people. They didn't accuse me of anything outright, but I could feel it: they were trying to make me the problem. I left that meeting pissed off. That night, I called Sam, my coworker and probably the only person in the office I actually trusted. I told him what happened. He hesitated, then said, "You should be careful. Nathan's not really gone." "What do you mean?" I asked. "He's still getting paid," Sam said. "He's been showing up at regional offices, poking around. He was down in Milwaukee last week, asking questions about who's been sabotaging him." I felt sick. The guy had humiliated me in front of the whole company, tanked department performance, left dozens of messes, and I was the one being treated like a liability? It got worse. Over the next few weeks, strange things started happening. My access to certain systems was suddenly revoked. My name was removed from project dashboards. I got left off calendar invites that I'd normally be on. A few coworkers started acting distant, people who used to grab lunch with me were suddenly too busy. Then I got a written warning. It said I'd breached internal data protocols by compiling and distributing unauthorized documentation. I was told this was strike one. I knew exactly where it was coming from. Nathan still had friends in high places, people he went golfing with, people who owed him favors. He was pulling strings behind the scenes, trying to make me look like the villain. I didn't scare easy. But I'll admit, I started to worry. I needed this job. I had rent, bills, and a younger sister I was helping put through community college. So I played it cool. I didn't argue. I didn't complain. But I did one thing quietly. I started copying every new change to my access, every meeting I was left out of, every interaction that felt off. I saved emails where coworkers told me they were advised not to involve me in certain tasks. I kept a fresh record. And then something else happened. One of the junior analysts on my team, her name's Naomi, pulled me aside in the break room. She looked nervous. She said, "I know this is risky, but I think you should see this." She handed me a printed email. It was a forwarded thread between Nathan and one of the VPs, written after he was supposedly on leave. In it, Nathan was asking for specific employee performance files. Mine was one of them. He was trying to build a case that I was toxic and undermining leadership. I read it 3 times. My hands were shaking. He wasn't just trying to ruin me. He was actively manipulating internal systems and people to do it. That's when I made a new decision. The first report I sent was about incompetence. The next one? It was going to be about retaliation. After Naomi gave me that email, everything changed. Before, I was just reacting. Trying to survive. But now? I had proof that Nathan wasn't just careless, he was calculating. He was actively working behind the scenes to destroy my reputation after I exposed him. And people in leadership were helping him. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table until morning, going through every interaction I'd had in the last 6 months. Every conversation, every meeting, every change to my access. I realized how deep it went. Nathan hadn't acted alone. There were at least 3 higher-ups in on it. People who had backed his promotion and now looked bad because I exposed how unqualified he was. Instead of admitting they made a mistake, they were circling the wagons to protect themselves. And I was the one in the crosshairs. They wanted to push me out quietly. Problem was, I don't leave quietly. I added Naomi's email to my new folder. Then I started going back over emails from other employees, things I hadn't noticed before suddenly clicked. One of the VPs had forwarded an internal complaint I'd made about a broken inventory system directly to Nathan a week before the all-hands meeting. I had thought nothing of it at the time. Now I realized they had been setting me up. The insult at the all-hands meeting? That wasn't random. That was planned. He wanted to humiliate me publicly and discredit me before I could speak up about what I knew. But here's where it gets worse. The day after I added that new evidence to my file, I got an email from HR. I was being put on performance review status for 30 days. Basically, probation. They listed vague reasons: lack of collaboration, negative feedback from cross-functional teams, and difficulty adapting to leadership directives. No details. No names. No examples. That same day, they moved my desk to the far corner of the office, away from my team. My calendar was suddenly booked with back-to-back coaching sessions and check-ins. All designed to isolate me, exhaust me, and make me quit. I'll admit, it got to me. I started to doubt myself. Was I overreacting? Was this just how corporate politics worked? But then something happened that killed all those doubts. A temp in our IT department, guy named Eric, came to me in the parking garage. He looked spooked. He said, I don't want to get involved, but I saw a request come through our internal system last week. It was flagged because it was weird. Someone asked for admin access to your email logs. My stomach dropped. Who? I asked. He shook his head. It was masked. Came through someone with director-level clearance. But it's not standard protocol. They were trying to dig through your inbox. Like, 4 months. I knew exactly what was happening. They were trying to find anything they could twist against me, a joke, a complaint, a personal message, anything to paint me as a problem. That night, I called a lawyer. I didn't tell anyone. Not even Sam. I wanted someone with experience to guide me before I made my next move. The lawyer listened, asked for documentation, then said, start gathering witness names. Anyone you trust. Anyone who's seen things and might be willing to talk if it goes further. Don't confront anyone. Just observe. So I did. Quietly, I started talking to people after hours. A few folks who'd been around a while. A guy from procurement who had warned Nathan about a vendor screw-up that Nathan blamed on me. A woman from accounting who said her numbers kept getting changed by someone upstairs to cover inventory losses. Everyone had a story. Everyone had stayed silent. Because everyone was scared. But once I shared what I had, once they realized I had proof, people started talking. And then, the biggest twist of all, I found out Nathan wasn't really gone. He had been hired back by the board, off the books, as a consultant. He was still on company payroll. He was still giving input on internal reviews. And he had been in meetings where my name came up. This wasn't just workplace drama anymore. This was a full-blown cover-up. And the only way to end it was to take it higher. I wasn't going to take this to HR again. That part of the company was already tainted. Nathan had friends everywhere, and anyone who helped protect him wasn't going to protect me. So I took it even higher. My lawyer helped me draft a full report, not just about Nathan, but about the entire retaliation campaign. We included the forged performance issues, the illegal email access, the demotion threats, the anonymous coaching notes, and the off-books consultant deal. We attached every piece of evidence. Emails. Screenshots. Meeting notes. Testimonies. We even redacted names of people who gave information anonymously to protect them, just in case. We didn't send it to my direct manager. We sent it to the corporate ethics hotline, and directly to the outside auditing firm the board used to stay in legal compliance. Once it was out of my hands, it moved fast. Within 72 hours, I got a strange message from Janet, our CEO, asking for a private call. No assistant. No HR. Just her. I sat in my bedroom, laptop open, nerves shot, waiting for the call to start. When her face popped up on the screen, she looked tired. Really tired. Her voice was quiet. Dana, I need to start by saying, I didn't know most of this. And what I did know, I didn't realize how deep it went. She wasn't emotional. She wasn't defensive. She sounded like someone who had just seen the full picture for the first time and realized the floor underneath her feet wasn't real. She told me a third-party investigation had already started. That the law firm we'd submitted to had contacted the board directly. That multiple VPs, including the one who backed Nathan the hardest, were now under review for misconduct and retaliation. And then she said something I'll never forget, you didn't just hold him accountable. You exposed a system we built to protect people like him. I can't fix it overnight. But I promise you, it's going to change. By the end of that week, Nathan's consultant contract was terminated immediately. No severance. No NDA. 2 VPs were placed on administrative leave. One resigned before they could fire him, the same one who leaked my emails and helped set me up for failure. HR leadership was restructured. 3 people were let go. And me? I was offered a promotion. Senior Manager of Operational Risk, a brand new role they created after the fallout. They wanted me to help rebuild the systems Nathan had trashed. But I didn't take it. Not right away. I told Janet I'd think about it. Because here's the thing, I wasn't perfect either. I stayed silent for too long. I watched people get walked over and told myself it wasn't my problem. I didn't speak up until it was personal. Until it hurt me. That guilt stuck with me. So instead of jumping into a new title and a bigger paycheck, I did something else. I gathered my team, the people I'd worked with the longest, the ones who'd seen all of it. And I told them the truth. About everything. I told them what Nathan had done, how deep the cover-up went, how close I came to being pushed out. And then I told them they never had to stay quiet again. It took guts. Some of them were scared. Some of them cried. But after that day, things changed. The company didn't magically become perfect. But people started paying attention. Managers checked their power. HR actually listened. And Janet, to her credit, cleaned house in a way I didn't think an executive ever would. And Nathan? He tried to sue the company. Claimed defamation. Retaliation. Tried to twist the story like he was the real victim. But remember Eric, the temp in IT? Turns out, he saved logs of the unauthorized email access. He handed them over to legal. Nathan dropped the lawsuit 2 weeks later. Last I heard, he tried to start his own consulting firm. But word spread. The retail logistics world isn't that big. Every time he applied somewhere, people quietly passed around screenshots from the report. Nobody wanted the drama. And me? I eventually took the promotion. But I also started something on the side, a small mentorship group for women in corporate operations. Quiet, invite only. We don't post about it on LinkedIn. We meet once a month. We talk, share red flags, help each other keep receipts, teach each other how to build paper trails that speak louder than any accusation ever could. Because I learned one thing through all this, you don't always have to shout to burn someone down. Sometimes, all it takes is watching, remembering, and knowing exactly where the truth is buried. And when the time comes, you dig it up and lay it in front of the people who can't ignore it anymore. Let the rest handle itself. Because people like Nathan? They dig their own graves. All I did was hand the board the shovel.